road bike. And Tyler's kind of looking at me, and you can see the gears running. And now I know what that means. It means that he had every intention of my desire to want to somehow continue racing to fund the education for his children. And he's actually quite successful at that. And so he said to me, he said, Billy, I know you can't race motorcycles anymore because your family will excommunicate you, but if there's ever an interest in you racing again, there's this upcoming sport called mountain bike racing. And he said, the guys that are pretty good at it are old motorcycle racers like you. And he looked at me and he said, how much aerobics training do you have? And I said, well, I used to play the trumpet in the band. He said, you need a coach. So he got me a coach. And her name was Laura Pike. Some of you guys in here young know Laura. Anybody? She was kind of maybe in the past. But anyway, Laura was a great coach. She got me ready to go. Tyler got me a great bike ready to go. And in 1994, won the Texas State Championship Series, got a full sponsorship, and raced the Northern Nationals, won 4 of the 6 Northern Nationals. The 2 I didn't win were Big Bear and Mammoth, because most of the races above 10,000 feet, and I don't care how hard you ride South 69, you don't have enough red blood cells to compete way up. So after that was over, I said, hey, this is great. I kind of want to go be an advocate for cycling. Don't have the time to train and do all this other stuff, even though it was a lot of fun. And so I started going to schools and Boy Scout groups and summer camps. And I'd take my bike and I'd show them how to, take it apart real quick, put it back together, and talk a lot about training and personal fitness and all these kinds of things. And about that time, somewhere in there, started having a few of those infections that men tend to get from spending a lot of time in the South. And said, probably this is one of those quality of life things that I need to reassess here and probably not spend so much time riding. And so I started kind of really throttling back my riding. I can't believe that we've run out of chairs. But we do have one, because I'm not sitting down, so here you go.
I can stand. I'm good.
We got you some chairs.
There's 2 chairs here.
So, there's another one up here, too.
He's an Iron Man. This is your first.
So, to kind of get to the point here, really backed off a lot of the riding the Saturday morning breakfast ride and, doing the hotter than hell and all the other stuff that all y'all done, because simply my whole body is just kind of wearing out. So, at that point, I kind of took kind of a different role. Had the opportunity to take President Bush out at Tyler State Park. That led to a lot of work with the city of Tyler in a thing called Ride the 4 Pedals of the Rose. And it was about that period of time that we were trying to build Lindsay Park. And of course, we had the city pretty much on board to give us the property. We just didn't have any money. And that's always a problem when, you've got a big job like this. So I was meeting with Mark McDaniels and trying to figure out some strategy where, the city of Tyler would drop a $100,000 money bomb on us. And he looked at me and he said, well, why don't you just go to J.B. Smith and see if you can just get the prisoners built? Oh, God, that's a great idea. So I went to J.B. said, J.B., we need to build a mountain bike course out here. There's, probably 10 miles. It's going to take several months. And, hey, Eric, how are you, man?
Hi, Billy.
I think we have one chair left here.
We got one right here.
So we started on that project. Got it finished. About that time, people started riding on Loop 49. And people were riding on Loop 49. They kind of liked Loop 49. 49 didn't have a whole lot of, sorry?
Not kind of,
Yeah, really liked it. And I can understand that. I probably got 25,000 road miles on South 69 training and getting ready. And like a lot of y'all in here, that's near death. And there's nothing quite as scary as having some 18-wheeler blow by you at about 80 miles an hour when you're in the drops and you've got your arrow wheels on and your bike moves over about a foot. You're like, wow, what just hit me? And yeah, I'm sure y'all saw this in the paper yesterday. Front page of the Tyler paper, 3 cyclists hit in the past 8 days in East Texas. And I don't know if y'all figured it out or not. I'm in the insurance business. And so things like, safety, people getting hurt, and all kinds of problems like that are real sensitive subjects, because our job is to kind of keep people safe. And so, provide, insurance products and risk management services and all these different kinds of things. So, one of my closest friends is Jeff Austin. Jeff Austin was, or is, the commissioner on the TxDot board, which is extraordinary for Tyler, because as far as I know, Tyler's never had a commissioner on the TxDot. I don't know if y'all know a lot about TxDot, but I think I read a statistic one time that said that their budget is larger than the gross domestic product of every country in the world except the top 35. There's a lot of money that's spent on roads, because Texas is a huge place. I don't know how many of y'all are like native Tylerites in here, native Texans are all, but we have an office in El Paso in a different time zone. Our office in El Paso is closer to San Diego than it is to Houston. And here we are in Tyler, Texas, and we're closer to Chicago, Illinois than we are our office in El Paso. I mean, it's a huge, gigantic place. And so it takes a lot of money to do all of our roads and bridges and all that, and there's a lot of competition for all that. So, like a lot of people, Route 49 sounded like a good solution because there wasn't any traffic on it. And then the traffic started to pick up. And,
It's still
like,
safer
okay,
than
what are we
anywhere.
going to do? About that time, Jeff said, look, we don't have any representation of East Texas, and never have, for this thing called the Bicycle Committee for TxDot. And he said, these committees have a tremendous amount of influence in determining where the money goes to get cycling projects done. And I'm going to show y'all some statistics, and I'm going to blow through some slides here. I've been to exactly one meeting, which was in February. I'm going to go to my second one Monday. All right, so we're just getting started. It's a 3-year term. I'm there 4 times a year, and we have an extraordinary opportunity to get some things done in this window of time while we have a commissioner at the Texas Department of Transportation who may very well wind up being the chairman of the commission, who can put us in a position where we can get things done. And so what I want to do is I want to show you what that first meeting was like. We're going to go through real quickly here the agenda, just to kind of give you a feel for it. I want to show you the slides that they showed us and the things that they're working on. I'm going to leave you with a little homework assignment. It takes about 5 minutes, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what kinds of things y'all would like to see and you would like to see happen here in East Texas, so that we can come together as one voice. So that's how you get things done. Just riding on Route 49. I bet a bunch of y'all in here think that Jeff Austin's fault. People in Longview killed it because they didn't like the fact that the money that was going to go towards all that was coming out of part of their deal over there in this whole big regional hourglass thing that's going on that is complicated and beyond the course of the discussion today, but we'll get there at some point. And so what happened was the Longview folks said, well, you don't want that. If we had sat down with the Longview folks and said, hey, look, there's this huge master plan to hook all of this stuff in between Tyler and Longview with this outer loop and all these things, and what we want to do is we want to make sure that when these roads are funded, that part of the money's going to Longview to improve y'all's single-purpose bicycle road that's way off of out there where all the trucks and cars are going. I'm not talking about on the shoulder. I'm talking about a dedicated 2-lane area where bikes only are permitted. And set it up on this hourglass thing, we're talking 100 miles. But nothing like this ever happens unless people can come together and at least develop a consensus. Everybody doesn't have to agree, and I guarantee you, you take a group this size, not everybody's going to agree on everything. But I will tell you that as long as people are fractured, and as long as people in different parts of this community, the Longview community, Kilgore, and other people where they have interested cyclists, unless we can come up with you know, some way to say, this is what we want to do, you will continue to, you know, kind of be like me. And that's, we're sitting out here, no money, no funding, no nothing. So, to get started, let me show you that this agenda right here had a whole lot on it. And, of course, you know, being the newbie guy in the bike committee, and incidentally, the bike committee has always consisted of people from Austin, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and like Amarillo. Okay? Zero participation from anybody in East Texas. So when you go to Austin and you see all this cool bike stuff going on, you're thinking, how did they pull that off? And how did they get all this stuff paid for? Well, it's because they had people that were working behind the scenes to make sure the money went to them. They wanted to come out here to East Texas. They wanted to build it down there in Austin where they enjoy it. So here was the agenda. Introduction of the members, minutes, contact information, confirm the schedules, you know, typical stuff they do in board meetings. And then we started in with this update on the status of the historic and cultural Texas bicycle tourism trails. What was that an education? We're going to get to see that in a minute. Safe routes to school program, which is kind of one of these, I don't know, federal government deals that frankly hadn't gone anywhere. Update on the status of TAP, the Transportation Alternatives Program. Recommendations, calls for projects, the 2040 Transportation Plan, which is your homework assignment because you'll see why in just a minute. Recommendations regarding this 2040 plan. And then the environmental process, mapping roadways, and just to kind of throw me a bone, in doing all this mapping stuff, they did it in Smith County. So you're going to get to see all of the high-tech tools that TxDot is developing, and they use Smith County as an example, so you can see all that. Okay, so we're going to just kind of go through these here real fast. These are the guys right here, these 5 fellas, and you can see where their terms expire. We have between now and 2019, in my opinion, to get as much done as possible. This is the way stuff works, you know. You got to have somebody up there who is willing to take on your project and say, yes, I believe in this, and I'm going to dedicate some money to it. Okay? So that's why I think this is important that we have this meeting today. These are various people within TxDot. This is the Texas legislature in 2005 basically came out and said, Texas bicycle tourism trails, and they talk about this bicycle advisory committee, which is what I'm on, what we've been talking about, shall advise and make recommendations to the commission on the development of bicycle tourism trails in the state. Recommendations on bicycle tourism trails developed under this section, 1, should be developed in conjunction with Parks and Wildlife, shall reflect geography, scenery, history, and cultural diversity, shall occupy federal and private sources of funding for the designation. Did I mention that there's a lot of money out there? I mean, you guys would be shocked to know how much money the federal government has to spend on bicycle projects. But you gotta ask, you gotta have a plan, and you got to come with a structure that looks like there's community support.
That's why we're such debt.
Okay. May include multi-use trails to accommodate horses, people, non-motorized, and then other stuff that has to do with that. Okay, so here's an example. This is a conceptual Old Texas 20 intercity bikeway between Houston and Austin. And basically what they're doing is they're right now putting together a plan that takes 290. Most of y'all have probably been on the 290, right? Down there. Yep. And it goes through a bunch of old towns, kind of a bunch of old cowboy towns. And all these towns are going crazy because they want it to go through their town because they know it's going to help their tourism. And they know the more people that come to, you know, in groups of 10 or 20, or if the Tyler Bike Club goes down there for a weekend, they're going to be stopping and spending the night and, you know, buying Gatorades and things like that along the trail. And so this is under development right now, and big parts of it actually are already ready to go. This is the Northeast Texas Trail. I haven't heard of this either. Starts at New Boston, right outside of Texarkana. Basically uses old rails to trails thing, and it goes all the way to McKinney. Abandoned railroad easement, rail bank from Farmersville to New Boston. It's 130 miles long. Short paved paths in some towns include a 10-mile paved segment through Paris, However, most segments are gravel and not developed. Rural sections are generally clear of brush and passable by experienced mountain bikers. And then there's all this other stuff. Now, these people were enormously interested in the fact that we had gotten prisoners to go build our mountain bike road. And I will tell you, I mean, I had a very candid conversation with JB. And JB said, look, Billy, if your choice is to be locked up in a cage or out there working, you know, most people want to go out there and they'll do it. And he said, you know what they feed him in the jail, right? It's this loaf where they take all their food and put it in a blender, whip it up, and they pour it in a pie pan, and that's what they serve to them. And he said, if you'll give them a little beer and pizza, a little Coke and pizza, he said, they'll really work hard for you. And Tyler, they did a good job, didn't they? I mean, it didn't cost us anything. It was a great win for Smith County. I thought it was good for the prisoners to get a chance to get out and, you know, return a little something to society, and we get to enjoy it. So, this is an existing adventure cycling route that shows how they're tying the United States together. And I'm sorry you can't see this map very well here, but basically this is Texas, and you can see there's not a whole lot of development here because, you know, we're so big. But the people who have time to actually think about all this on a national basis are trying to get the United States where you can basically navigate it on bicycle on good areas that are safe for cycling. Okay. Here is part of this adventure cycling route that goes through the south part of Texas. And so let's get back to El Paso again. Start up there in El Paso, and you can see all the little cowboy towns it goes through. It ends up in Del Rio. Here's Del Rio, and then it works its way across up to Navasota, north of Houston, comes across and works its way over here all the way across to Baton Rouge. So it says touring cyclists currently travel this route as a part of the cross-country route from San Diego to Jacksonville, Florida. Did y'all know this? So few of you didn't know about this. All news to me. Proposed national bike route network. So another grid, you know, the U.S. where people are really thinking hard about how we tie all this stuff in together. Okay. Did some of y'all get to go to this Texas Trails and Active Transportation Congress? Tyler did. How was it, Tyler?
It was wonderful. The most professionally produced conference I've ever been to. And it's amazing to see how some of the cities and town, you know, the areas that get it and are really trying to get cycling as part of their, you know, making it safe and usable to attract, you know, a good workforce, a good educated, active workforce.
Exactly. And that was part of our goal with the Ride the Four Pedals of the Rose, is to put Tyler on the map and the destination where we had, you know, 4 mountain bike places to ride within easy drive from the town. And there's not a lot of communities who can say that. So here's some of the folks you know, involved with this Bike Texas deal. Here were some more updates. Not really a whole lot to get into this. A lot of stuff that I think is frankly beyond the context of this meeting. Okay, so stakeholder and public input results. This is unbelievable. TxDot, you know, puts this fancy map up here about how they, you know, digest all the information that they're getting from everybody, okay? And then that helps them develop policy. You remember I told you earlier there was in that agenda, there was this Transportation Plan 2040, you know, which is looking out to the year 2040 and saying, you know, what are our needs and what do we need to do with them. And so this is basically the slide has to do with cars and how they're, you know, working towards addressing all these various things. And look at this. They had at this public participation round 1, San Antonio, Pharr, Houston, Bryan, Lubbock, Wichita Falls, Dallas, Abilene, Austin, El Paso, San Antonio. You see these sections covered up there, right? So they went and in these workshops, there's not very many people go, okay? And then they have these surveys, and not very many people fill out the surveys. And at the end of the day, they've got this tiny sample that I'm in the insurance business, and so we can count things, you know, as actuaries and all. I mean, I don't even know how you can even call that a representative of anything because the sample's so small. But they use that information then to develop public policy to spend your money on various projects, none of which are out here because none of us even knew to sign up on the website. So this was the most powerful thing that I saw the entire time I was in it. You see these dots? Those dots represent where the people live who responded to the survey that's given TxDot all the information about where they want all this money spent on all these things until the year 2040. Now, once again, you can see the tremendous amount of involvement we have out here in East Texas with this, right? Okay, so here is a sample of the questions that they're asking. How would you rate the following as Texas problems? How would you rate solutions? Things that have to do with cars, bikes, there's rail, there's the bus rail question. It takes less than 7 minutes to finish this survey, okay? Really powerfully important. And so they develop all these cool looking charts and grids and everything based on all these responses. Okay, homework assignment. Go to TxDot.gov, okay? TxDot.gov. And you'll get their pretty website with, you know, all the common bases on and everything. And then up there in the top right, when you type in the keyword search, put TTP, which is the Texas Transportation Plan 2040. And this thing will come up. And when it does, you'll have to kind of read on there a little bit, but it'll say survey, all right? Click on the survey, go through the questions, register the fact that there's people in East Texas so that the next time we look at the map, there's dots on there so they don't think that there's nothing out here but, you know, coyotes. And that there are actually some people interested enough in cycling to weigh in on this, okay? If you don't do anything else, please do that. Because what you're doing is giving me ammunition to go down there to Austin and say, we got people who care about this stuff. We didn't know about it, you know? All this stuff's been going on for years and years and years, and we're just left out in the cold. We've got hundreds of thousands of people out here, and a very large, very active cycling community, and we need, you know, we need some help. So, all right.
Question.
Bicycle accommodations. Yes, sir.
How often are those surveys consolidated and reviewed? Is that daily, weekly?
That's a great question. I have no idea. I think that it is being updated continually. I'm not sure that there's a cutoff date, but it's kind of sort of seems like to me when I was in the meeting last night, I felt that there was a sense of urgency to share this with you because maybe by the end of the summer or something like that, that's when they take all the data and, you know, crunch it and do these.
I just wonder if we all got on, you know, in the next couple of days and did the survey, if they don't look at it for another 6 months, you know, maybe.
No, I think, and here's the thing, if you all go home and get on tonight and do it, it shows interest by East Texans for cycling, and it helps them allocate the resources they need. Because when they don't think that there's even anybody riding a bike out here, trust me, we're not going to get any help. So.
I got one in the mail a couple of weeks ago, and it was about 8 pages, and it took a lot longer than that, but it was heavily bicycle-oriented and alternative transportation.
Well, I timed myself up there, and I did. It was going to take 8 minutes, and it take 80, so it was the one that I did was quick. All right, so policy statement and memorandum. This is just a bunch of, you know, government gobbledygook talking about how the government is behind us on all these kind of things. Bicycle accommodations, you know, there's all this environmental stuff related to cycling and related to, you know, building cycling accommodations, and the federal government has all these regs and everything that's required. There's all this other stuff that, frankly, is, you know, in the scope of this meeting here. Get something here, but I think we'll have some interest in it. Here are, what this list is telling you is that before they can build a road, okay, anyway, they have to answer all these questions. You know, is a bicycle lane going to be provided? Is a shared use lane going to be there? Is this project exempt from bicycle and pedestrian accommodation requirements? All these kinds of things. Well, as you might imagine, if they're about to build a new road, and there's not one single cyclist that even brings any of this stuff up, what do you think the chances are that any of that stuff ever gets? It's very, very important to us.
Well, that's true, you know, they should automatically build that into the project, you know, it's,
Right.
I mean, if
Probably
you,
not gonna happen because like most.
like
government agencies,
Cumberland, they're gonna
struggle-
build a trail right on the side of it and stuff like that, and, I mean, it's,
Jeff not aware of what happens in his own community?
What do you mean?
Well, obviously, if it's not brought to anybody's attention, obviously Jeff knows that people are riding, so why isn't he bringing it up? He's known about cyclists for years riding on the roads.
Right.
Is he not in tune with with his own community?
I think it's very good.
Doesn't sound like it.
Well, I think that's the reason I'm standing here. I mean, that's the reason he went to TxDot and he said, we need to get some East Texas representation on this bike committee. And, I mean, I don't know how else you can put your money where your mouth is, but he said that this committee is comprised mostly of people from Houston, from Austin, from Waco, from San Antonio,
From the
and
years
West
back.
Texas. There's not
How long has
anybody
he
out
been
here.
on the board?
Huh?
How long's he been on the board?
I don't know, 18 months or something.
Okay. So is this the first that we're actually going to bat for cyclists now? Because obviously, when it all came together for the 49, it didn't happen that way, right?
No, I think you're missing point. As I said a minute ago, the Loop 49 debacle, which started out with people being able to ride on Loop 49 on the shoulder of Loop 49 when it got open, and there weren't a whole lot of cars on there, Jeff didn't have a problem. What Jeff was trying to do was get some specialty roads built. The funding was going to cost like $1 million a mile or something, but he felt like we could get it done if we had some public-private partnerships, we got some donated labor, we got some of these guys that donate materials and all, and use the TxDot money, and we can get it off of the road up there. It's unsafe, and I'll be here, stand here all day long and tell you that riding on the shoulder on 49 is scary now that there's so much traffic up there.
but I understand that totally, but why did they offer up, the opportunity to put paint a bike lane up there and have the bicycle, community come in and donate the money and everything, and then all of a sudden it's over?
Well,
You
it
know,
got
I mean,
over
to
because,
me,
like I
that
said
was
before,
pretty insulting.
Now, well, listen, I'm not here to debate Loop 49 or Jeff Austin. What I'm trying to do is get some steps done.
No, I'm
And at
just,
some point,
no, I'm not, it's
those of
not,
you in
it's
the
not
room
about
are
that.
either gonna
It's
have
just,
to trust me and listen to me, help you get stuff done, or y'all can just, argue about it until the cows come home. But I'm here to tell you, Jeff
not
Austin
arguing
did
with you, I
not-
just,
Okay.
putting out a,
Listen,
It's okay.
Jeff Austin did not have anything to do with the right for y'all to ride on.
I never
Route
said Jeff
49
Austin.
Getting, basically taken away. The people in Longview, when we tried to get the funding to build our own dedicated deal, they said no. And
No,
they're
I-
part of this, and I forget the name, there's an acronym for it, y'all help me with this, it's not the Metropolitan Planning.
Net RMA, Net RMA, Northeast
Net
Texas
RMA, that's it.
Regional Mobility Authority.
And there is Longview participation on that board. I happen to know those people that are in Longview, and know them pretty good. I can sit down and have a conversation with them and say, this is why it's going to be good for your Longview cyclist, and this is why it's going to be good for the Tyler cyclist. And we got Jeff who'll put the money in to get it done. But, trying to make him a scapegoat for everything that happens on Loop 49 is just, it's.
I never said that.
I'm not saying that you did, but I know that there's a lot of anxiety over all this, and like I said.
But if that was the issue a long time ago, then maybe somebody could have called some of the people here and said, Longview people are kind of having a problem with this 49 thing, can you all get with them? Instead of
Right.
hear about it a year and a half.
Yeah, we could have
The other thing is,
dealt
you're
with
saying that
it.
it's unsafe up there. I'm a nurse practitioner. I've almost been hit once just the other day. I had a beer bottle thrown at me from a local road. People in this town, in these areas, are going 70 miles an hour, 80 past us. So 49, I would drive on 100 times more than I would. And, I'm half tempted to get a shirt that says, here's my attorney's number for when you kill me. Because I would much rather be on 49 with a 5-foot shoulder than these roads where there is no shoulder.
10 foot.
Or a 3-foot shoulder that they do have, and the cars don't respect it. So don't tell me that 49 wasn't safe. I didn't ask for a bike lane up there. I just asked to be able to ride it there, and most of us are that same way.
Okay.
So him saying all of a sudden, let's make it a bike lane, and you people need to do this stuff, we didn't ask for it. We just, leave us alone, let us ride where we feel it's safe,
Yeah.
because we've got the experience.
And what's the difference between riding on 49 and riding on 69? It certainly isn't any safer.
I mean, they're all
riding on-
freeways, you
Yeah,
know,
it's riding on the highway, period.
you know.
Well, we're not gonna
Go.
get 49 back,
Yeah,
that's just the whole thing.
hold on just a
But-
second, hold on just a second. I was involved in the 49 issue from the beginning to the very end. And without a doubt, the conversation we're having right here is not going to help our future in cycling in East Texas. But by having a man who has the ability to be in that inner circle in Austin where decisions are being made, might. So
No, I totally agree.
49
I totally agree. It's just,
49 may one day have a separated lane, maybe. But the point being, I think that we need to spend our energies on what we can do. And listen to Billy and see if we can move forward, you know, because we're, you know, for every step back, maybe we can get a couple of steps forward. We've got an advocacy meeting coming up this Monday at Fresh at 6:40. A week from Monday. You know, and there's a lot of people interested in it. This area is on the brink of becoming a cycling friendly, hopefully, a cycling more aware, and for things to start happening. This is where it begins, just like this. And I know, you talk about being pissed off about 49 being closed. Look right here.
no, I totally agree with you, but we've gone like so many steps back.
Well, I
You know,
disagree.
and,
I think we've moved a lot forward. I think what we ought to do is let's just pick out those battles that we can win, and let's try to move forward.
Well, I mean, that's why we have our
The reason I called
conversations.
this meeting was to find out what it is that people want to know. Because you can't eat the whole elephant. And I guarantee if I went around every single one of you here, each one of you would have some different project or some different idea in terms of what you want.
Bottom
But-
line, it's a safe place to ride a bike.
Right.
I think everybody
totally
that's
agree.
in here, that's what we want, is a safe place to ride a bike.
But it is water under the bridge. You know, we're all skeptical, every one of us, but it's water under the bridge. You know, it's one of those things that we need to look past it.
So you're saying that nothing that we do now is going to get us to 49, we have to look for an alternate solution?
Did you come to this meeting because you thought you were going to get thrown on board?
No, I'm just asking, I mean, if we're going to have to find a solution and that's not part of it, then there's nothing we're talking about.
It could very well be part of it. As I said before, I maintain that if we go to the people in Longview, who are the ones that actually torpedoed the 49 deal and said, we want to work together with you to get some funding from TxDot to help build us our own separate bike area, maybe widen the shoulder, although I gotta tell you, there's issues related to transportation safety, that's not necessarily their first choice. And, you know, if I had a nice, wide, dedicated bike path where I could go out there and get down and drop and go 30 miles an hour, I'd probably have to ride up there on the road with a car.
You know, that's always been my argument about 49. Why can't they just put a path on the side? You know, I mean, there's so much, there's so much land, and, you know, Fresh would donate a bridge to go over, you know, and stuff like that. It's just like,
I totally understand. And what I want to do is I want to get through this presentation so you guys all have a good idea of what I'm dealing with down there. And then before we leave here at 6:30, I'm going to have some ideas from you guys that I want to be able to carry down there and say, you know what, this is what we're thinking about in Texas. So, roadway characteristics behind the data. They went through a whole lot of things where they talk about things like shoulder width, shoulder use, the speed limits, the cars out there, curb types, you know, rumble strips, the whole 9 yards. And they have obviously a tremendous amount of data and information regarding all that. This is some more information that what they want is for cyclists like you to be able to go into and download data and find out where the best places are to ride. So, I told you that they kind of threw us a bone and said, well, we'll show Smith County area for an example. So they've got this map that they're coming out with that you can pull up and you can say, okay, how wide, I'm sorry that this, you can't really read this, is it, 1 to 4 feet, 4 to 8 feet, kind of thing. And then you can find where to go right. Well, they're showing me this deal and I'm saying, let me tell you, from right here to right here, I've got 25,000 miles. And if you're telling people that that's a great, big, wonderful place to ride and advertising this, it's scary out. And so, but they're trying to make some progress in terms of automating some of these things so that when people come to the area and they say, hey, where do we want to try to go ride, that there would be some wider shoulders and some areas that would be more cycle friendly. I've ridden all those roads on there, and I can't tell you that I think that any of them are particularly cycle friendly, but I just want you to know that this is part of what's taking place right now. And you can see even within the city of Tyler, they're getting this mapped out so that you can break it down and figure out where the best places are to ride.
They're adding those trails to the Google layer, bike layer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's right.
they got started at
And
Tyler
so,
State Park.
They'll have things like data on all these different areas and things like that if you're into all that stuff. I think most of it's just one place to ride where you won't get hit. So, all these people that are involved here, they all claim that they're cyclists and, that they ride and they do all these rides and they're all ready to, be at our service. And I gotta tell you, I think that's better than us sitting here, arguing about the 49, frankly. So, here's the agenda I'm faced with on, wait, did you put the February 4th?
Sure.
Where is it? Well, they loaded the same agenda there. Well,
So you're meeting with that
It is.
city on Monday?
Sorry?
You're meeting with everybody on Monday, like
Yeah,
with
down in
Jeff
Austin,
all of those
down in
guys?
Austin, with all the people across the state of Texas that have been appointed by TxDot to this bike committee. That's on Monday morning. And I was gonna show you all the agenda, but my IT guy got out of here. Well, sorry about that. All right, so,
Can I ask a question? I'm new
Please.
to this, and I don't understand the politics behind it. I don't know a lot. So just for clarification
Hold this.
purposes, East Texas doesn't have a voice, or tax has a voice. So you as a gives